Please welcome from London, England, the Kinks.
It's funny, isn't it? It's that old saying, you can choose your friends, but you can't do it. And really, at certain points in our lives, probably Ray and I would have been lost without each other.
I'm not content to be with you in the daytime. Girl, I want to be with you all of the time. The only time I feel alright is by your side. Girl, I want to be with you all of the time, all day and all of the night. All day and all of the night. All day and all of the night. I believe that you and me last forever. Oh yeah, all day and night and yours leave me never. The only time I feel alright by your side. Girl, I want to be with you all of the time, all day and all of the night. Come on, all day and all of the night. All day and all of the night. Oh, come on, let's go. Get 'em off, get 'em off. Let's hear everybody have your hands. Go, let's go. Everybody's jumping. Well, well. Hey, 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 hey. I believe you and me last forever. Yes, I do. Oh yeah, all day and night and yours leave me never alright. The only time I feel alright by your side. Girl, I want to be with you all of the time, all day and all of the night. All day and all of the night. All day and all of the night. Yeah.
It's miles better than having a day job. It's nothing happens there.
Thank you very much, thank you. Oh, it's coming up. Thank you very much, nice to see y'all. It's nice to be on the TV screen once again. I'd like to introduce you to the group now. We have Mr. Mick Avory on the drums.
Well, in 1964, I joined the Kinks through an audition. I advertised in the Melody Maker as a rhythm and blues drummer, and the Kinks, before they were known, they played a lot of blues stuff, and so this manager phoned up, this very posh manager called Robert Wason, and he spoke to my mother, and he said, your son's the drummer, I hear, and we'd like to audition him. So I had to go for this audition in Islington, in the Camden Head in Islington. So I went up there, and then they wanted, I drummed and did a few Chuck Berry numbers, etc. And the following night they wanted to see me again, so went up there again, and there was more people there than the other managers. There was 3 managers at the time. Grenville was one of the managers. He grilled me on this, my background and what I was doing. And he said, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "Well, I'm just delivering paraffin at the moment." Delivering paraffin? Do you see that as a career? And I said, "No, not really. It's just a fill-in job because I want to try and get in a band." Because all the bands around my way didn't carry on, they sort of gave it up. So anyway, I said, "Yeah, okay, right. You're on a trial." So how long's the trial? Worked out to be 20 years, but it was only supposed to be 3 months.
You really got me, though. You got me so I guess it's been guitar, we have a very good friend of mine, Mr. Dave, Death of the Clown Davies. It's him, Dave.
I couldn't express myself verbally, but I was very, very sure how I felt. I knew how I felt. So the guitar gave me a means to direct that energy. There was a connection with the guitar and sex, chicks and playing live, so I thought, yeah, I quite like this idea.
And on bass guitar, we have Mr. John Dalton, by God, Mr. John Dalton.
It was early July, June or July, 1966, and I was working as a builder at the time, and the Kinks were with an agency called the Arthur Howes Agency, and one of the bookers in the Arthur Howes Agency was a chap called Bill Fowler, who used to be our road manager in the band I was in before, in the Mark IV, to become the Creation later on. And he had moved on and got a job as a booker for Arthur. And when Pete was injured in his scooter accident and broke his ankle or something, I think, Bill suggested me. And I thought, well, I don't really do it any, I've stopped. So he said, look, it's for 3-4 weeks, that's all it's for. It's the opportunity of a life, he said. I said, oh, all right, yes, I'll give it a go. It's only 3 or 4 weeks. And so I went, and we had an audition in Savile Row on a Thursday. And it was a nightmare. Mick was, as he normally does, sitting on his drums, just tapping away. Not really enjoyed. Someone said, this is John. Dave was laying flat out on the floor playing his guitar. Ray wasn't there. And so they said, well, this is your gear, play through this and that. And then Ray suddenly walked in. And in those days, he was previewing records for one of the music papers, like Disc or something like that, or the NME, something, one of them. And he said, I've got to review this record, and promptly threw it out the window. And I thought, oh, what am I into?
On the organ, Mr. John Gosling.
I was at the Royal Academy of Music in London, and I was also playing the church organ in the church. And a friend of mine who was actually my school prefect, called Pete Frame, gave me a call and said he had a job coming up for the magazine Zigzag, which he ran, but there were no details, just a telephone number. So I said, well, give me the telephone number and I'll give them a call. So that evening I picked up the phone. That's how I had to leave college to join the band, but that's how it happened. basically. There were two other jobs I was going to apply for, was Procol Harum and Squeeze. Jules Holland had just left Squeeze. And those jobs were listed in the Melody Maker as it was then. So I went for the one with no details, and that's how I got in the hole.
Girl, you really got me going. You got me slow, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, you really got me now. You got me so I can't sleep at night. Yeah, you really got me now. You got me
On the early Kinks singles, were those guitar lines things that you heard? Or did Ray have, you know, da-dum, da-dum,
I don't know, I don't like to analyse it, and this sort of things you just do, you know.
Mm-hmm.
If I hadn't had a guitar in my hands, I'd hate to think what I would have been doing. It's just sort of like something that you do.
Yeah, you really got me now. You got me so I can't sleep at night.
Always did you really got me. I had to play this guitar solo, right? Ray was standing next to me, and I think he was terrified in case I fuck it up, because we cocked up the first session. Well, Shell, if you don't mind, cocked it up because we didn't like it. It was horrible. So Robert Ways put up the money, what, 200 quid or something, for us to go re-record it. So when it came time for me to do a guitar solo, Ray's standing like 6 feet away, going, come on, thinking he's trying to vibe me, but he's getting on my fucking nerves. And I'm thinking, if you don't go away, I'm gonna fucking hit you with this guitar. So what I thought in my mind, I thought, I was really angry. And I thought, I know about 7 notes that can't fail. And the ones I can't remember, I'll just repeat the ones I played before. That's called improvising, by the way. So I did that, and oh, you bastard, you shut up. And that was how You Really Got Me solo was born.
When Ray brings in a song, will he suggest a guitar line to you? Or will you say, Ray, I think I heard this, and let's try this?
It works differently, I think. It works, it depends on what it is. You know, there's no sort of format. The only format is that he writes a song and we get together and we work it out. That's really, that's really the only way we can.
Don't ever set it free. I always want to be by your side.
I was basically a live drummer to begin with, and I went through playing all these various songs that they'd done, and then You Really Got Me came to light, and Dave had this guitar sound, and Ray had written the song, and Dave gave it this treatment, and it was really different, you know, but we didn't know how successful it was going to be. And we used to try everything out on stage first, and it used to go down well on stage, so we decided to record it. And but when I came to record it, they already used this session drummer called Bobby Graham, so they, for quickness sake and getting the sound and everything, paying for the studio by the minute. So he actually did the first 2, and then I sort of took over, and it all sort of developed from there. But it got more subtle after that.
The years that followed after You Really Got Me, as I was seeking for these moments in time, through my feelings, it became like a barometer or an indicator as to how a thing was going to work. It's like Ray'd call me out on the phone. Hey Dave, come on, I've got this great idea for a song. I'd go around and go, gung, 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 gung. That's pretty cool, and you get the guitar out, and we sit there. And like, after a time, I get that feel, that feeling, like something happened. And I know, beyond doubt, that was going to do something, whatever it was.
Dirty old river, must you keep rolling, flowing into the night. People so busy
sunset, and from then on, kind of a new kind of a period for the band? Was Ray's writing changing a little, do you think?
Yeah, I suppose it was. I mean, it's like, you know, it's really funny being a writer. It's sort of really odd, because like, you can only write about the environment and write about things you feel. And like, one day you wake up and you feel different than the day before, you might write a different song. Waterloo Sunset's more like fine art. It's like, but like when he's in the way we constructed it and the guitar sound that we used, it's like it's more of a construction. Beautiful though it may be, which I think it is.
Terry meets Julie, Waterloo Station, every Friday night. But I am so lazy, don't want to wonder, I stay at home at night. But I don't feel afraid.
My first thought was, why wasn't Pete doing it? Because he's only hurt his ankle. You know, you don't need your ankle when you're playing. But but I didn't know Pete at all, like, you know. So and it went on from there, and the weeks were going on, and then they did actually say that Pete doesn't want to come back. So would you join us full time, Pete? I said, lovely. You know, I've now got to know everybody. You know, we all got on well and everything, so it was going well. You know. A few months later, phone call saying, can you come up to the office on a Thursday? And I went to the office and they said, Pete wants to come back. They said he's quarter of the company, which he was, you know, Kinks Productions it was in those days, he's quarter of the company, and there's nothing we can do about it, you know.
Pete Quaife was a good bass player for the time. He used to have his own little style, but he used to play it up like Bill Wyman sometimes, but it was, I think, just a Mickey take out of Bill Wyman. You know, it's just and he got used to it, but I think he only did that during miming sessions on TV. You know. But he didn't do it on stage, but we did impressions of the Stones sometimes. I'd do Charlie, he'd do Bill Wyman. Dave was Mick Jagger, I think, and Ray would do Brian Jones with that sort of conceited look. But, you know, just mucking about.
Pete Quaife was a guitar player, really. He had these big ideas about being a guitar player and he was good. So we had a problem. There was 3 guitar players and no bass player. So that's why I think Pete, when he eventually decided to play bass, was a very lyrical and accomplished bass player, because he was playing from, like, he learned guitar first. And I think it helped the Kinks a lot.
And they don't need no friend. As long as I gaze on Waterloo sunset, I am in paradise.
A while later, I got a phone call from Mick saying, Pete's left, do you want to come back? And well, that sounds crazy. I had a good day job then, which I was quite happy with. And I had a little part-time band that I was playing in weekends. So I was quite happy, really, you know. And I was married then, you know, had a child. So I said, to be quite honest, Mick, I'm quite happy. And they come back with quite a good deal. And so I spoke to my wife, we talked it over and said, yeah, we'll give it a go. I mean, I started my career in about 1959 playing old rock and roll. I mean, and Dave used to play, well, Long Tall Sally was an early record with the Kinks, so, and all that type of stuff. So it was mine, it's what I've been playing for a few years then, old rock and roll. So, I did fit in fairly well straight away,
They liked me because I was sort of more laid back than a lot of people in the business, and Ray knew that Dave and him weren't, they weren't always compatible, and it blew hot and cold, it was a bit volatile, and I thought maybe I'd calm the situation. Probably didn't have anything to do with drumming, but the combination worked basically as personnel, even though it did go up and down. It was still, you're up on top of the world one minute and down the doldrums the next, one of those sort of things.
It's funny, isn't it? It's that old saying, you can choose your friends, but you can't, And really, at certain points in our lives, probably Ray and I would have been lost without each other. But it's almost like I can't stand him to be in the same room with him anymore, because life is for self-exploration as well. You can't live yourself through other people. And although our relationship has been really important, it's not always been important to me. So it's the dynamic between me and Ray has been very interesting, but it's not to be recommended, because we are two distinct. We could have been born on two different planets.
Normally, Dave and Ray would set off against each other. If you take sides, then that's where you've got to be careful. Dave used to have rucks with Mick. Dave got disillusioned with Mick's drumming. He wanted a heavy rock drummer, which would have been totally unsuitable for the Kinks at that time. I used to side with Dave quite a lot because we got on so well. Maybe not always a good idea, but I used to try and see his part of the argument, his side of the argument. So I suppose when you look at it, the main instigators were Dave and Ray, and occasionally me. John very rarely got involved, very rarely. I don't blame him, but Mick would quite often be in the belt back of Dave's insults and assaults. I've done gigs where Dave's kicked Mick's drum kit off the riser, that sort of thing. And there's always been that thing with Dave and Mick, that sort of a rub, it's quite a volatile relationship they had.
Oh, Dave was, he was on lots of drugs and drinkies and things, and he was a bit of a aggressive, obnoxious person anyway, and we had our ups and downs, and you had to be careful what you said a lot of the time. Anyway, we got into a squabble in a hotel one night while we were on tour, and the next time we saw each other was instead of putting this together and say, well, look, we've got a show to do, make it up and shake hands. That wasn't done. It's the second number he used to count in, but he counted it in 5/4. 1, 2, 3, fucking 4. And over went the drum kit, and kicked the drum kit over, and he turned around to sing, and I whacked him with a hi-hat pedal, which was the only thing left to hit him with. He felt it, I think, and he sort of fell down, and I ran off and went down the cafe, and the road manager came down there and said, and I was sort of upset, and I said, is he all right? And he said, yeah, he's all right. He'll have to go and pay another visit to the hospital, but he's all right.
Can you remember what the early Kinks days were like? I mean, were they fond memories?
It was totally insane. I can't remember a thing. Like the 70s even, it just sort of went really quickly, and I can't really remember very much about the 70s, but Yeah, very crazy, sort of up and down, sort of, you know, period, time, 70s. The beginning of the 70s were really bad for me, emotionally and spiritually, in that time near the early 70s. And it was after Pete left, sometime after Pete left, after Granville and Robert, our managers, parted company. It was when Ray was going off and sort of found a way of disappearing up his own arse every 5 minutes. No, he was just having a great creative time, and I was getting really disillusioned. I actually felt very uncomfortable being in the music business. I didn't seem to like anybody that was in it, and I started to go more inward. And I thought let's get a recording studio together and organise it and get equipment and do all our own stuff. And I felt like we could keep the music more protected from these surreptitious or insidious vibes, man. And or whatever, or in my crazy mind anyway. And so I thought, well, you know, maybe it's not going to last forever. Maybe Ray's going to go off and start writing on the walls and disappear into the cosmos. And it was an important time for me as a person, because that's really was the start of my inner journey, my spiritual journey, which is the most important step I ever made in my life, in my view.
I think a lot of people used to buy tickets to our gigs just to see when the fight was going to happen, what sort of fight it was going to be and how big it would get. It used to be, Davies to, if Ray was in trouble, if he lost his balance while he was singing, Davies used to step out of the way and let him fall over. And our gig at the Philharmonic in New York, Philharmonic Hall, which is a big classical concert hall. Ray was stumbling around a bit, shall we say, stumbled back towards Dave, and Dave neatly stepped out of the way, and Ray went over the amps, and nobody lifted a finger to help me, and he was unconscious on the floor. Amplifiers everywhere, and Dave just carried on playing, just looked down, you know. So it could get to that sort of level. And then we had half the audience on stage at the same gig, half the audience on stage with us singing along. Ray's still groggy, he probably had a bandage on his head. And I think a lot of that, the entertainment value of the band far exceeded the musical content. We could have gone there, we would have played absolute crap and got away with it, because people wanted to see the spectacle of the Kinks as they become.
Well, we weren't getting along very well anyway, and there were squabbles in the band, and then we went over to America, and things were very volatile, and we weren't used to playing big places and concerts, and all the organisation was up in the air, and we're playing, you know, there's union people over there trying to stop you play certain places because people are on strike and can't do this and that television. And we took a manager with us, Larry Page, and he got hold of Sonny and Cher and came back and left us in the lurch, and everything was, what could go wrong did go wrong, and it all ended up, we got banned for 3 years, but that was 1965. We didn't actually go back till 1969, so that's actually 4 years the time we got back. By then, John Dalton had joined us.
I met her in a club down in Old Soho, where you drink champagne and it tastes just like a cherry cola. C-O-L-A cola. She walked up to me.
I love Lola because it was just a turning point, you know. It was come at a time when I think we needed something. We'd gone a bit quiet in charts for a while, like, you know. So we've come back for that.
Well, I'm not the world's most physical guy.
Lola was interesting. Apparently it was based on maybe a couple of actual events. that took place in clubs. One involved one of our managers, I think, one involved Ray. Ray, being an observer as he is, it tended to combine the two, make it one person. None of us really knew what went on. We got a vague idea when we heard the lyrics, but it was a very interesting song, quite groundbreaking in its way for the time. Now, you know, anybody could write a Lola perhaps, but at the time it really made its mark. A lot of people commented on it. It was interesting to do it on Top of the Pops with people walking around. Obviously I had no idea what the song was about.
But when she squeezed me tight, well, I almost fell for my Lola. Lola, 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 Lola.
I could never get sick of playing Lola. I would, you know, I'd do it in the band I'm in now, or I'd do it, you know, it's a lovely, great song. Well written, and at the time was totally different than anything else it was about. The only thing that the problem with it was, I mean, apart from the fact that Ray had to fly all the way home to America to change one word from Coca-Cola to Cherry Cola because they wouldn't play on the radio. We were touring in America when it came out over there, and all of a sudden we've had this band of transvestites follow us around everywhere, like, you know, and they're brilliant they were, you know. You've never seen colours like it, and wigs and all things they used to. The only thing they used to do is they used to knock on your door at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, all dressed up, and, you know, say, "Hi, it's Ray there," and I used to say, "Go away" to them, or words to that effect. You know, you just got to bed after a night out, a few drinks, and, you know, searching for a rave. But I mean, I suppose they made it showbiz. Like, it was great to have them. They followed us around everywhere, like coquettes they were called, and really outlandish.
Seriously? You okay? Yeah? You alright over there? Alright. I want you all to sing this one. If you can't sing, clap your hands. Down in Soho, where you drink champagne, it tastes just like a cherry cola. She walked up to me and she asked me to dance. I asked her her name, and in a dumb voice she said, "Lola." Hello, hello. Lola, Lola, Lola. But when she squeezed me tight, she really put my spine on my Lola. La 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 la. Well, I'm not dumb, but I can't understand why she walked like a woman but talked like a man. Oh my Lola. La 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 la. La 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 la. Well, we drank champagne and danced all night.
Lola was, it was like my audition, I suppose. There were several tracks that Ray had already put down. They wanted me to try the piano parts too. Lola was one of them. We tried that in so many different versions. I put the piano on the top of one of the last ones, and then we mixed it. It sounded fine. So I didn't really know how the song went. I didn't know what the song was about. I just played the piano parts of the chords and hoped everything would fit. And there are, in fact, some places where the piano part clashes with the vocal line. It'd be nice to go back and do it again now, but these things happen, you know. I just got given a chord sheet. I said, play that, see how you get on with that. And that was part of the audition sessions, and then it went up to #1. So suddenly from nowhere, I was on a #1 record, which is a bit mind-boggling.
The way that I wanted to stay, I always wanted to be that way for my Lola. shook up from somebody. La 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 la. Well, I've been through just a week before. I never ever kissed a woman before. Love smiles at me by the head. Said it will fall. Well, I've let the world's most masculine man know what I am. And I'm a man who's so slow. La 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 la. La 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 la. All together. La la woo. La 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 la. La 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 la. Come on, everybody, let's hit it. La 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 la. La 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 la. Everybody, come on. Everybody, let's hear it. Do it. Come on. Everyone, come on. Lola. One more time. Everyone in the back, come on. Lola. Very boring. Listen to it.
We were known as a singles band in the 60s, but as things moved on, we went through different phases. You know? After Lola and 8 Man and Rocket Ship, and, you know, we went through the concept stage, and so and then we began the harder stuff again. So it just went in different phases. But I mean, I think there were probably more suited to what we did in the early 70s.
Power Man was almost a single instead of Lola, actually, but Power was a very powerful track. We still play that now, but 8 Man also made an appearance, I think, on that album somewhere, the original version. Yeah, it's a good album. That one, Muswell Hillbillies, I think, are the best from that period. In fact, I'd go as far as to say Muswell Hillbillies really, it's probably the best album we did with that lineup. It wasn't overlooked as an album, but it wasn't as played as much as it should have been. It was a big departure for us, the sound-wise. I remember we recorded the brass section in the toilets at Morgan Studios to get the right ambience, the right echo effect. We put the brass section in the toilets, drove the mics down there. That was interesting, especially for people who wanted to go to the toilet at the time. But that was a good album. It's a great album. I really enjoyed Muswell Hillbillies, and every single track, I think, on it. I can't say that about the others.
We're gonna try and change the way of living, and they'll never make something out of that. Alright, 'cause I'm the Muswell Hillbilly boy, but my heart lies in old West Virginia. On my hills and I dream, I've seen them in my dreams. Take me back to the Black Hills that I ain't never seen.
I think when John Gosling joined the band and John Dalton, well, I think the band were playing well live then, even though not raucous rock and roll, but it did fit together rather well.
We saw everywhere, went everywhere. We didn't see anything, but we went everywhere. I mean, most of it was a blur, but we had a hardcore following out there, little groups, but we couldn't warrant that many gigs in a week. We was more or less doing weekends when we first went out there. So unfortunately we had a lot of time off in between, because you might get 6 weekends on the trot and you're doing 8 to 12 gigs, that's all. You've got so much spare time, and shortly after that John Gosling joined the band in 1970. John Gosling joined the band and John the Baptist. And it just, he was crazy.
I've seen them in my dream. Take me back to the black hills that I ain't never seen.
They were just finding their feet again after being banned from America, and they'd done the first half of one American tour, and that's where I came in. I think the Americans embraced the band really with open arms after that. But it was a bit of a struggle. We used to play to empty or half-empty halls quite often. But once we got established again, we were packing them in, you know.
It was always my ambition to see Piccadilly ramble and roam around Soho, Pimlico and Savile Row, and walk down the Abbey Road. So I saved all my money, I packed up my clothes, and the sand.
What America done for me was spoil England a bit, because they were so extrovert out there, you know, and they went so mad when you come on. When they got to know us a bit more, we started getting to the stadiums and that, and you know, shower us with paper plates, all messages written on, and you know, bombarding everywhere, and it was, you know, you think, oh, this is brilliant. You know, you come home and play Festival Hall or something like that, and British crowd, like they normally do, is went very polite, enjoyed you, but they just very politely clapped.
Used to come back from America, we would be holding up lighted matches and lighted the whole bit, candles. Used to throw dolls on stage resembling us. They used to throw jelly babies on stage for some unaccountable reason. America was by far more exciting.
When we went to America, all these influences that I drew from American music, when I went there, where was it? It wasn't there. The TV people were 10 years ago, and we're trying to do what we're doing now, but they're thinking a decade beforehand. So saying, and I thought, I used to laugh to myself. You know, I used to play mine on TV and laugh because they seemed old-fashioned. And I think a lot of the campness we created and a lot of the cheek was, we were taking the piss, really, in their sense, in a nice way. I don't think we did it in a facetious way, maybe, don't know. But it seemed like they were still in the past and we were the present.
We would land in LA, and the first thing we'd do, before we even unpacked, we'd put our suitcases in the hotel and then go to the joke shop and spend fortunes on silly things at the joke shop just for going down the Whiskey A Go Go overnight. And then we used to go down the Whiskey A Go Go and terrorise people. Everything was new to us then, and it was wonderful being in. Never thought of the San Andreas fault or anything. It was just lovely being in the sunshine in California. And then we'd go out and do silly things, particularly when John Gosling joined us in 1970, because he used to look good in funny outfits, and we used to go out and buy all this stuff in the joke shops down Hollywood Boulevard. But there was one particular night out and Dave was with us. Dave was a cop, and you could buy like imitation guns with caps that really sounded like a real gunfire going off. And we went into this place, and they didn't really like us mucking about, you know. People were serious, trying to watch the band. And James Taylor was on that night, who we actually wanted to see, but we got so drunk by then. Dave shot him as he came down the stairs, and we all got thrown out. But we went down the Whiskey, and we're all in there larking around. And Grenville, our manager, came in and said, well, he just witnessed the scene and shook his head in disbelief. So the following day, he gave us a pep talk. And he came in, there was John Dalton and I and Dave, and he said, this has to stop. It's a very small community in this town. Word travels fast, and your name is doomed. You're going to be a poppy show everywhere.
We're a serious band. You're not acting like serious people. It's so pathetic. If you'd seen yourselves, you'd never ever do it again. And it's giving us all this stuff, like naughty schoolboys. And then suddenly the door opened and Baptist walked in with this big horn, this Viking horn, and the helmet and everything, and went right on cue. Brilliant. You couldn't repeat that, couldn't you?
Using me, and there's no security. Sometimes I hate the road, but it's the only life I know. But I'm living the life that I chose.
I enjoy playing live more. There's nothing like a buzz from an audience, you know, when you're out there having a good time, they're all having a good time with you, you're all singing along, you know. Ray still gets all on that now, I think he's still enjoying that aspect of it. There's nothing quite, I don't like being stuck in the studio for hours on. We were doing 12-hour sessions back to back for some albums towards 1977, 78. There was nothing like getting rid of all that, going back on stage. In fact, we broke one session off. I went to John's local pub called the Bulldog. Ray suddenly broke everything off and said, let's go to the Bulldog and play some rock and roll. So we just abandoned the recording session, went to the pub and did some old Jerry Lee Lewis and Little Richard. All the locals in the pub were sort of gobsmacked. What's going on? Here are the Kinks. We did book them. We can't afford to book them. We did we did about an hour and a half, I think. This is in the middle of a recording session, but it can get quite stifling. And you can imagine what 12 hours back to back is like. Wake up the next morning, going and do that. That's where a lot of friction arose. It certainly accelerated my departure, shall we say.
When we're recording, you know, we may play for hours and hours on the same track, and all the band used to say, but sure, that sounds okay. But really, there's only one person that knows what's going on in Ray's head, and that's Ray. So you can't really argue with it, you know. And if Ray said, no, that's not quite right, and you think, well, it sounds great, but it's not what's in his head, you see. So, you know, so he knew anyway, so he just said, oh, play this, play that. Yeah, that's great. Or we'll take a month to do it.
What's great about Ray's method or process of observation, you can encapsulate that event and put it in a nice little frame for everybody to have a look at.
You've been sleeping in a field, but you look real rested. You set out to outrage, but you can't get arrested.
Do you have much hand in the production of the Kinks records?
Well, discussion and sort of, you know, ideas. We throw ideas around. You know, everybody that's there contributes. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. Different ways.
Right. Do Kinks albums happen fairly fast?
No.
They kind of...
Sometimes it varies, you know, from song to song. Some songs happen quicker than others, you know.
I mean, it just sounds like the first albums happened kind of quickly, and as you progressed, the music just became a little bit more complex, that it seemed like it would take longer.
You know, I don't know, we had an album out called Misfits, and it took us over a year to make, and it was, you know, it was well produced and it was played well, but it wasn't really from my point of view, a very spirited record. We're like low budget and recorded in 10 days. You know, it had something, those sort of intangible things that you're constantly trying to conjure up.
Right.
And it's nothing to do with technique or the amount of time it takes. If it takes a year to do it, you know, it can take 5 seconds.
Why don't you join the crowd and come inside? You wander around this town like you lost your way. You had your chance in your day.
If you do the same song for 50 takes, that can be a bit wearing, and it loses all its impetus, its feel, the whole ambience goes, it just turns out flat. And that's what happened with a lot of our later recordings when we had Conch Studios. Because we had unlimited studio time to record, we just took too long over every track. You know, and every track was like taking 50 or 60 takes to get right. So generally, I like being in the studio, but not for too long. If you can't get it in 6 takes, basically forget it, go back to it the next day maybe. But long sessions, no, I've never enjoyed that.
Best part about recording is listening to the finished article. Because don't forget, you're only putting down backtracks. So, you know, you hear piano, bass and drums, whatever it is, and it doesn't really mean an awful lot, you know. And even you might put a lead vocal, a guide lead vocal on it, but it's still not there. And then it's nice to just listen then when it's all fully mixed and everything else, and come in and think, oh, that's good, you know.
And everybody's in movies, it doesn't matter who you are. There are stars in every city, in every house and on every street.
I mean, somebody normally does what's called a guide vocal, where the guy who's going to be singing the song does a few lines, or maybe leaves a few gaps, but he'll do most of the vocal of the song. So you know where you are. You know what the song's about, which, to be sympathetic to playing a song, you really need to know what the song's about. But Ray notorious at coming in with the lyrics at the last minute. So most of us were just playing along to a chord sequence at best, making it up basically as we went along. A classic example was Celluloid Heroes, and that was one of my favourite songs. And that was such a beautiful song lyrically, but none of us knew until the very last minute. We were playing at 3 o'clock in the morning, I think it was, at Morgan Studios in London, and it was a lovely slow feel to it, a lovely slow ballad, and Ray was singing snatches of the lyric, and then we went in for the vocal overdubs and he sang Celluloid Heroes, the full version. I mean, everybody's jaw dropped. It's such a lovely song. It's one of the best songs that's ever been written, I think, but until the last minute, none of us knew what it was about.
Down Hollywood Boulevard, some that you recognize, some that you haven't even heard of. People who worked, suffered and struggled for fame. Some who succeeded, some who suffered in vain.
I always say on stage, when I announce it, I say this should have been a hit. The reason it wasn't a hit was because it was too long, or deemed too long at the time. It was only when Queen brought out Bohemian Rhapsody that they started playing anything past 3 minutes, you know. But, you know, if you listen to the lyrics, it's absolutely superb.
But stand close by Betty Davis, because hers was such a lonely life.
It was too good to be a hit, really, thinking about it. When you think you had songs in the charts like Grandad by Clive Dunn and a few other, there's always been awful songs in the charts, but the early 70s particularly were notorious for written some really dodgy records. The Celluloid Heroes was far too good, really, but in terms of musical content and lyrical content, it should have been #1 for quite some time, really. It was a brilliant song. It's still one of my favourites.
Everybody's a dreamer, and everybody's a star, and everybody's in showbiz. It doesn't matter who.
We were always respected for what we'd done, but not in the masses, you know, so a lot of ardent underground sort of following over there in the States. And so we weren't completely forgotten, but it needed building up to, you know, to actually do the bigger gigs. But so what did we do? No, we didn't do that. We went into the smaller theatres, and Ray went all theatrical, and after that we used to do our own show with the hits that we'd done, plus these concept albums. We did 3 concept albums, and so that didn't really work. Didn't work commercially, but it was just like a low budget sort of college musical
can you look at the records that the Kinks did that were concept records for One Brother with Arthur and those, as opposed to singles albums? Was one stronger than the other in your mind? I mean, did you like playing on one more?
Yeah, Arthur I liked very much. I didn't particularly enjoy the preservation things, although I thought the ideas were good. But I didn't really like that too much.
Preservation I tried all fairly early on. I think everybody else did as well. I know Dave was frustrated. There was nothing to do on the guitar. All he could do was stand around dressed in fancy dress. And generally, I think the rest of the band felt the same, that we'd just gone up a blind alley. Ray was hell-bent on doing the concept thing. He even wanted to make a West End show of it, you know. But if you've got concern for your bandmates and you can generally pick on how they're feeling at the time, how they're presenting the music, you should get a good idea that maybe it's not a good road to go down to. I mean, the audience were forever calling out for the old hits, or for rock and roll, for anything. Halfway through the concept show, at one point we were our own warm-up band, so we used to go on and do all the Kinks hits in a row, then come on and do the concept album after that, so it was a long night, and you can't expect energy levels to stay up there all the time for that. So by the time we got to the end of the concept album section of the show, we were all pretty whacked, and we had to go on the next night and do the same thing at some of the gigs. But no, on reflection really, we just stopped doing that a long time before we did.
Walking along crowded street, I see thousands of faces before me. Then I see a face that I used to know long ago in my life story.
At the time, I thought, because they were like concept albums, you know, we were doing stuff like Schoolboys in Disgrace, and also you've got to remember as well that we then toured as Schoolboys, you know, and doing all this stuff and stuff like that. But I just think I didn't really want to play it when I was out on the road, and you know, you got, I don't know what it was, 5,000 people. They really only wanted to hear the hits, like, you know.
And it wasn't really rock and roll, you know, it was all a bit sort of tongue-in-cheek, sort of, one was called Soap Opera, and one was called about a dictator, Preservation Act 1 and 2, 2 albums there. So we spent probably 4 or 5 years doing that. Schoolboys in Disgrace was the last one we did. You had to dress up in all these costumes. My skull cap never fitted properly.
I quite liked the Schoolboys in Disgrace album, but we never seemed to make it onto the front of the album anymore. Whether it was too old or too ugly or whatever the element was, we never seemed to make it onto the album front anymore, but we were on the back with our schoolboy outfits in. But I quite like that cartoon character. I thought that summed up the way we were at the time. You know, we got away from the cool 60s image and we were into the music hall era, as people refer to it as.
We were all kind of reborn around about that time. And I think it kind of started really from Schoolboys in Disgrace. That feeling again started about there, and it sort of gathered momentum during the Sleepwalker period. And of course, toward the end of the year, we'd broken America again, and it was all, you know, limos and all the big time thing again.
No more looking back, no more living in the past. Yesterday's gone, that's a fact. No, there's no more looking back. gotta be hung.
Did the band change when you added members and members moved around? Did that change the direction at all?
Yeah. You're talking about like preservation.
Yes.
We've been through a lot of different personnel, and that's it. It's curious that we've arrived back at like a more basic setup, you know, which is which I like. You know, I like guitar, bass, and drums and vocals. To me, that's what comes out.
There came a time when patience started to run a bit low. We were losing our identity as the Kinks. We had so many extra performers playing with us and being on stage with us that the Kinks lost its identity as a rock band, and that's where Dave got very disillusioned, I think. Dave's always been a rocker. We all have, really. And it was fun when it started, putting on the funny gear, walking on, looking like schoolboys, but it outstayed its welcome, I think, really. But I don't think it was a success on any level, really. We should have ditched that fairly early and gone back to making, which Ray did, to a certain extent, the Schoolboys. That was just the five of us again, making a rock and roll album. We had extra players on some tracks, but after that it went back to being just a touring band, But it was the wrong band to be attempting that sort of thing, I think.
Everybody's got problems, buddy, I got mine. But when midnight comes around, I start to lose my mind. When the sun puts out the light, I join the creatures of the night.
We got back to the basic band then, and even Schoolboys in Disgrace is leaning towards going back with the band. There's more group songs in it rather than like musical songs. So it gradually sort of went back to the band, and had a couple of good albums, Sleepwalker, Misfits, and Low Budget.
We did American radio stations promoting it. We did a couple of American TV shows as well. Saturday Night Live, which is a great satirical program that was on. We did a couple of tracks on that. It was all right, but it was, I think it was starting to mark the beginning of the end of the 70s Kinks, really, that album, the one that followed.
I had it in my mind to leave. I knew I was going to leave, and obviously it's a big thing to do, and so I made sure. I think the replacement bass player did do an extra track at the end, but as far as I was concerned, I'd laid all the bass tracks down and made sure that everything was, as I was concerned, was laid down. So I wasn't leaving. I wasn't just going to walk out and say, "Oh, that's it," because I weren't joining another band or anything like that, So I made sure it was all fully done, not the overdubs and things like that. But
we lost a fifth, I think, really, of what we were all about. Although Andy was a very good player, I think really it was only a matter of time when we were working on Sleepwalker before the rest of us would follow. There were some good songs on it. Stormy Sky, I think, was one of the tracks. Sleepwalker itself was one of those tracks that suffered from over-recording and over-production, too long spent on it. But Yeah, it was a return to rockier Kinks, I think that. Misfits, the album that followed it, that carried on a little bit into that, and that's when I left after I finished the last keyboard for that. But that was quite rocky as well. But that suffered again from overproduction.
You heard about the trouble throughout the land with the fascists and the left-wing militants. Out of work executives are killing themselves, and the IRA are killing everybody now. Don't panic, don't lose control. Keep your head, keep your hold. Act normal, there's nothing wrong.
We had a change of personnel around that time. John Gosling left and John Dalton left, and 76 and 77 they left. And Jim Rodford joined us in 78, and it took off. And then we went more into the bigger concerts, because we signed with Arista, and we got Clive Davies pushing us, and trying to get us in the big, we used to call them birthday cakes, big stadiums. And so no, I left in 1984, but I had about 6 years of that. Dave and I weren't getting on very well. And, we had riffs over the years and ups and downs, and it just got very difficult to want to do it anymore. But also I thought I've done everything with them and been everywhere and done everything, so it was it was really good fun, a lot of it.
Years were wonderful, all that success and chicks and the adulation. I adored it all. It was like food to me. It was like good wine. It's just everything. It was I don't know, it made me feel fulfilled. Like that's what you're supposed to do, innit? Have a good time, enjoy yourself and express yourself. One thing I've always loved about the Kinks and my life with it, in it or out of it or whatever, is that we were always, whenever you think you got it made, we were always thrown back flat on our asses. And I think that is important, because you don't grow in ivory towers and in limo. You don't grow as a spiritual being when you're protected. But there's great learning curves in those moments of despair.
Girl, you really got me going. You got me started, I don't know what I'm doing.
Even flying the Atlantic was funny, because in the days of the jumbo jets, and we used to have a small thing. We used to fly first class out there, and we used to have a small lounge upstairs. And so as soon as it took off and everybody settled down, we used to go up there and we'd sit there, and they used to have a small cocktail bar in the corner with just a few bottles in it, like different drinks. And we used to say to them, look, don't worry about us. We'll be all right up here. We won't disturb anybody down there at all. We just sit there for 5 hours, whatever it was, and have a drink. And it was just, and everything was done for laughs.
We used to do these spur of the moment things. That was all theatrics, but it was off the cuff theatrics. It wasn't planned. It wasn't written out. It just came naturally to us. We used to run across the stage, swap instruments on TV shows and this sort of thing, play them back to front so the strings were, that sort of thing. We'd all look at each other. We'd all know instinctively what to do. And of course, a lot of foreign TV companies didn't know what's going on at all. They thought, why are they swapping instruments? What's going on here? That was when it all came together, and we all loved each other for a moment. We had a great time. Moments like that stick.
So I'm not following a trend. I want to set one. And that's the way we always did the opposite from what was normally expected. But then again, we're Kinks, so supposed to do that.